So, today we're talking about how to save a relationship that is falling apart. And there could be a lot of different reasons why your relationship might be struggling. But when we come down to some basic fundamentals, there are a few simple things that are probably going to benefit you and are going to set you on the path for making your relationship work and saving that relationship. Even if things are looking really bad right now, even if the two of you have already broken up and there is just some, heavy drama, some very, very bad things happening right now. In case you don't know, my name is Clay with modernlove.life. I've been helping people to actually save their relationship since 2009, especially after breakups. You're in good hands here with this video. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get right on into this. So, the big problem when a lot of people are going through some major relationship problems is that them and their partner start to see each other as being on opposite teams. That is to say, when the two of them got together, and hopefully through most of their time together, they saw each other as being on the same team. People start relationships for the right reasons usually and with good intentions. They think, hey, I like spending time with you, you like spending time with me, let's come together and create something beautiful. Maybe there's something more to that. Maybe they want to get married, maybe they want to start a family, maybe they want to go live some sort of life dream together, whatever it might be. And that's great, but at some point along the way something happens, and being on the same team is no longer the main primary dynamic between the two people. And now suddenly they start to see each other as being on opposite teams. There could be a number of reasons why this might happen. Maybe lack of trust, betrayal. Maybe somebody's just listening to too much, outside influence, and they start to think that, men are all this way, women are all that way. You have this attachment style and I have that attachment style. Therefore, we're like unable to communicate with one another because we're basically like alien creatures to each other or something like that. And as this sort of starts to seep in, it then sort of drives the wedge between the two people further and further, causing them to get further and further apart. And then this causes the relationship to have a lot of struggles. Okay. And this can result in people breaking up. This can result in people cheating. This can result in people just emotionally disconnecting. This can result in a lot of arguments and all that sort of stuff. And so basically, if you're following what's happening here, the first thing that gets out of alignment is that the two people stop being on the same team. The second thing that gets out of alignment is that the communication starts to break down. And then as the communication starts to break down, the trust between the two people starts to diminish even more and more. And so there's this sort of feedback loop of these three things. Cooperation, basically being on the same team, communication, and trust or consistency. And those sorts of things are working in a negative sort of sense to drive you and your partner further and further apart. And so what we want to do is we want to start to bring these three things back into your relationship. We want to start to bring these three things back to working synergistically for the benefit of your relationship rather than for the detriment of your relationship. And so that's really what the main thing that we're going to be talking about in this video is really all about. So before we go into that, if this sounds great to you and if this is sounding like it might be helpful for you, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. That would be a very helpful thing for me to do. It's a great way that you can help support small channels like mine. Anyway, let's go ahead and get right on into all of this. So you might have heard that you need to do things like, use the no contact rule to make your partner miss you, to make them want to come back to you, to make them remember the good times because some science somewhere says that they're going to miss you the most at day 21 or something like that. And then they're going to come crawling back over broken shards of glass and confess that they miss you, or they're going to realize that they don't have the power over you that they think that they do, or, any other number of things. But whether it's no contact, whether it's mind games, whether it's playing hard to get, whether it's reverse psychology, whether it's anything along those lines, I hope you're understanding that this is actually not going to help you to save your relationship, because it is playing into the primary problem at hand here, which is that you and your partner do not see each other as being on the same team. You're saying, oh, well, I'm a man and she's a woman, therefore we're fundamentally different. And I have to learn the secret language of women in order to make her want me. Or, I'm a woman and he's a man and men need the thrill of the chase. So I have to play hard to get so that he's going to chase after me. I mean, you see the division that's happening here, right? I hope that you are astute enough to see the division that's happening here. And this is like very, very common, especially with, attachment styles these days. And I know that I have a little bit of a controversial stance on attachment styles. I don't think that it's worth it for people to go like deep into that world. It's not because I don't believe attachment styles exist. They obviously do. Early interactions that you have with your parents are going to shape that, obviously. But if the problem is, after talking to so many people, when you start to take on this attachment style business too much, it can cause you to resent your partner because you're thinking like, oh, well, let me guess, you have an anxious attachment style and they have an avoidant attachment style. And so you're starting to say, oh, well, you have an avoidant attachment style. Why can't you just be a decent person and like stay through this and listen to this? And then you start to hold resentment towards them. Or you start to internalize the identity of someone who has an anxious attachment style. And you start to think, well, I have no choice but to freak out when they don't text me back or they leave me on red or something like that. And so you start to own it and you start to step into that identity, and rather than realizing that this is something that you can move through and overcome in order to regulate your own emotions, you start to take it on and you start to take on this sort of helpless victim mentality about it because it's become part of your identity. And so, of course, your early childhood experiences are going to affect your romantic relationships. However, that doesn't mean that you should be obsessing about it. That doesn't mean that you need to, talk about, all of your, traumatic experiences or whatever. Maybe you do. I don't know. But it doesn't mean that you need to obsess and dwell about it. But what it means is that you need to instead say, okay, let me find ways that I can act in alignment with actual healthy relationships and get out of alignment with unhealthy relationship patterns. Basically, the things that we talked about already: not being on the same team, being on opposite teams, not communicating clearly, not communicating at all, having the communication shut down, not doing things to inspire and build trust, not doing things to create consistency between the two of you. These are things that are aligned with bad relationship experiences, breakups, divorces, etc. So we want to take our alignment away from that and put it into what it actually looks like to be aligned with a great, loving relationship. Now, what does that mean? So, by the way, if you want to learn if your relationship can be saved, one thing before we get into all this, one thing that you can do is you can head on over to modernlove.life/quiz to fill out a quick assessment based off of some, information about your relationship, what happened, all that sort of stuff. It shouldn't take more than a few minutes. And we'll go ahead and give you our assessment about, where you're at, how easy or difficult it's going to be to save your relationship, and what that path forward might look like. Again, you can find that over at modernlove.life/quiz. So anyway, with that being said, we want to actually align ourselves with a healthy relationship. Now, what does that mean? This is going to mean different things for different people because obviously people are looking for different things in a partner. People are looking for different things in a relationship. However, there are a few common, very widely held things that most people are probably imagining when they're envisioning their future partner, their future spouse, the person that they're going to spend the rest of their life with, and things of that nature. They very well may imagine someone who is on my side, someone who is supportive, someone who's cooperative, someone who's flexible, someone who's forgiving, someone who understands, someone who listens, someone who is compassionate, someone who has empathy, someone who tries to do the right thing, etc. And if you can start to take on these characteristics yourself, if go ahead and do some soul searching and say, okay, where is it that I might not be aligned with that? Where is it that, if I'm being honest with myself, maybe I'm not being on the same team. Maybe I'm not forgiving. Maybe I'm holding a grudge. Maybe I'm resentful. Maybe I'm not being consistent because, maybe I'm trying to do all these like mind game, seduction things that I heard about, play hard to get, reverse psychology, blah, blah, blah. And maybe it's causing you to not show up consistently. Um, and so just do some soul searching and find ways that you can align yourself with all of that and move into embodying these qualities. And what you're basically going to do is you're going to be telling your partner, hey, you know how you are imagining being in this great relationship with somebody, whatever that might look like for you? Well, hey, here's me. I'm doing my best to embody these sorts of things. Now, they're probably already attracted to you. Yes, there could be negative emotions clouding that attraction, but they're probably already attracted to you. And if you are attractive to them and you are showing up embodying these qualities, and you're doing whatever you need to do to kind of clean up the past between the two of you. Again, I don't know what happened, but if you need to apologize for something, or if you need to work things out, or if you need to clean something up, by all means do that. Then you are sending them a very powerful message that, hey, I'm probably the kind of person that you want to actually be in a relationship. So despite all of our troubles, despite all of our challenges, despite our breakup or whatever, maybe it's worth it to have a conversation or two with me and to see if maybe we can work things out. Maybe we can save this relationship. Maybe we don't have to pull the plug, walk away, download some dating app and just go through the frustrating, disappointing experience of swiping until we finally meet somebody who's not a horrible person that's just going to ghost us, right? And so that's really what we want to do. And so if you want to learn more about how to do all of this, and if you want to learn more about how to save your relationship without using no contact, without using mind games, without using all these other deceptive sort of practices, then what I want you to do is I want you to check out this video right here. I'm going to go ahead and explain it all to you, and I'm going to lay it out over there. So what I want you to do next is to click on this video, and I'll see you right over there.